Howdy there, folks. It's Geist, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing a couple of different things. Originally, this video was going to be two different videos, but because they're so closely connected, I decided to go ahead and just put both in the same vid, especially since I'm kind of just going to be ranting about the two. So we're going to be talking about the velocity changes that just happened recently, and we're also going to be discussing how lightweights feel. So if you're interested in hearing about either of those things, then stick around. First and foremost, I just want to talk about velocity. So for the longest time, a lot of members of the bow community kind of called me crazy because they were like, "Oh, there's no way, bows are hit scan. They don't have velocity issues. They're not missing anything out on that." But obviously, with the recent changes, we can see that Bungie knew that I was in fact right, and velocity was lacking on some bows, specifically lightweights more so than precisions. Precisions were essentially near hit scan, but lightweights were kind of a step below that, and it got to the point where if you were dueling at any long ranges, you could whiff arrows a lot. And I went on about this forever and ever, and you can see the difference now. Just take something like Wishender, which is one of my favorite bows. Previously, when you were firing Wishender, you could very clearly see the arrows traveling through the air, and now you don't really see that anymore. At full draw, it just looks like little bolts of light, just like every other bow out there. And that's because they're all hit scans, so of course they feel great. So this first sort of little tidbit is just kind of me going, haha, neener, told you so. And I hate to gloat, but I kind of wanted to, because I was right all along. Bows did have some issues with velocity. They were not true hit scan. Now, they're basically hit scan. And this goes for precisions as well. Granted, you can't really tell with precisions because they already had such great hit registrations anyways, but at least now lightweights are so much better. And that goes into my second point. How do lightweights feel right now? Well, I've got just a little bit of footage playing in the background. It's not the best footage because I'm kind of new to PC. I actually just swapped over recently, so you're going to see me kind of fiddling around on mouse and keyboard with a bow. But lightweights just feel so much better. They feel like they actually hit. They don't whiff at longer ranges, and they just feel so much more consistent overall. And that makes them so much more usable. And that's great for people that are fans of lightweights. Personally, I kind of like both archetypes. I don't know if I'll fully switch over to lightweights. And so that brings me to my next point. Are lightweights worth using over precisions? I don't think so. I think precisions are still going to be the better bow. And not just because of the double body. The double body is nice because you do have that sort of ease of use. You don't have to go for headshots. And that's probably one of the major selling points of it, is that, lightweights do have to get at least one headshot. Precisions do not, so they're easier to get the kill with. The other big issue with lightweights is I feel that they fail at what they're intended to do. What they're intended to do is have a bit of a faster TTK than the precision bows at the cost of needing to get the headshot. And if you're running something like Archer's Tempo, then you're going to want to get the headshot anyways. And while that's neat, there's just so many other weapons out there that are going to destroy you before you even have a chance to do any of that. High impact pulse rifles, aggressive SMGs, lightweight SMGs, a lot of the faster killing weapons, and even something like, say, the Fang of Ir-Yût, which is the new 260 Scout from the raid, just with one perk is allowed to get down to about a 0.7 TTK, which is still faster than what lightweights can confidently. Now, a lightweight bow is capable of pushing that 0.7 TTK if you, say, get a headshot and then go for a half draw. But that isn't always necessarily going to happen easily, and it is going to take a little bit of skill and timing to perfect that half draw. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but we're fighting weapons that are just point and click. Things like that scout rifle, pulses, SMGs. There's so many guns in the game where they just aim and shoot. They don't have to worry about timing or any of those other things. And so why I think that precision bows are still superior is because, to me, bows are still best played as a peak shot weapon. You really don't need to be trying to out-TTK people. I think that if you're using a bow, you should be fighting in the air. You should be coming in at odd angles, sliding, and utilizing cover as much as possible to weave in and out with your shots. It's just the way that they're meant to be played, and it's the strongest way that they can be played. Now, does that mean that you can't kill somebody that's rushing you by backpedaling and firing 2 arrows as quickly as you can? No, of course not. You can do that, and it works great most of the time. But trying to out-TTK a bunch of other weapons, which is what a lot of our lightweight users will do, is just not the best idea in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, I really like lightweights. I like how consistent they've become. I enjoy the changes that Bungie has made to them, and I think they're phenomenal weapons. But I think that the king of the bows is still going to be the precisions. And at this point, now that Le Monarque has been dethroned, most of your well-rolled or well-crafted Legendary precision bows are pretty much going to be the best thing you can use in Crucible. Unless, of course, you feel like memeing and using Wish Ender like me, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would just recommend sticking with your legendary precisions because they're pretty great. So final answer, are lightweights worth using? Yes, they're absolutely worth using. They feel great. You're still going to have to peak shot with them, but if nothing else, you can take advantage of their high reload and their snappiness overall, and if you enjoy the feel of them and don't mind having to get the headshot, then they're still phenomenal weapons to use. Otherwise, precisions are pretty much going to fulfill all your needs, and they're pretty much going to be the better bow to use in general. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know, I always enjoy having conversations with y'all about these things. But as always, folks, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you in the next video.